On today's Halloween show, the spooky side of life outdoors. Up first, be prepared to be scared. Grouse roam the North Woods, but some folks think they see ghosts too.
There it is.
A trout fishing trip leads to Minnesota's haunted hotel.
This is actually a human hair.
And we get up close and personal with the scariest of wild critters.
Minnesota Bound, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems.
Hey everybody, Laura and I welcome you to this spooky edition of Minnesota Bound.
Today we share a few of our favorite mysteries from the woods.
Yeah, you just never know what you might run into, especially this time of year. Autumn can be hauntingly beautiful. Such is the lure of Michigan's North Woods, where some people say they see ghosts.
These colors really popped over the last couple of days, haven't they?
Awesome. Tracy Liskey guides Upper Peninsula grouse hunts.
There's no better place in the world to be if you're a bird hunter than Michigan during October. This is a wonderful place to be.
See that in the road right there? Is it?
It is a grouse. Nice shot, all right.
No way.
That's a boy, Odin. Odin. That's a boy. Nice bird. Every bird's a beauty.
Grouse hunters always expect the unexpected. Sure look like it. Which is why, back at our hotel, a bit of history gives me the chills. I mean, there are just so many stories here, like this one. Mysterious lights in the woods. This trip, we come for the birds, but stay for the sunset view down a remote, dead-end dirt road.
What is that at the bottom down there? Is that a bridge?
Hunting buddy Ryan Johnson and I hunker down first.
So this is where the palming lights are supposed to
be. In minutes, a small crowd huddles in the shadows of old Michigan Highway 45.
We were talking about it on the radio this morning.
Talking about the Paulding Lights. See, locals have long waxed about mysterious dancing lights in the woods. A glow rumored to be the lantern of an old railroad brakeman killed nearly 100 years ago.
It's still kind of phenomenal.
Tom Crow's crew came all the way from Kentucky.
You know, you still just kind of, I guess you just, there's a little something in the back of your head, you know what I mean? You want to be a believer.
Tonight, Tom just hopes to see something. Be careful what you wish for.
There it is.
Lights suddenly flicker along the power lines.
There's another one right there.
No one really sure where they come from. A mystery easy to capture on camera, and not just by us.
There it is. Got it. Yeah, it was on TV.
Really?
It was on TV, believe it or not, yeah.
Connie Jazz Whiskey can't quite explain what she sees.
Yeah, and you know, a person just wants to walk down there and look.
Spooky stuff on a chilling fall night in the autumn woods.
I'm not afraid of the dark.
Good thing if you visit Michigan's Upper Peninsula.
It's a ghost.
So goes the story on a dead-end dirt road where a tale of ghosts never seems to die.
Coming up next, fishing by day, haunted hallways by night.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems, Rapala, Midwest Exteriors MN, and by Ice Castle Fish House and RV.
Up next, a fall fishing trip takes us to the river town of Red Wing. Little do we know our hotel could be home to scary stories, too. Fall has a funny effect on Minnesota. Let's just say it's scary how pretty bluff country becomes on autumn days. Ryan McCabe and I celebrate the last days of trout season.
Nice cast, come on.
On a small, meandering stream outside Red Wing, Minnesota.
That's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
But the trout are being spooky.
Hard to come by today. Ghosts. Ooh. Oh. So much fun.
Our end-of-season fishing tradition
That is a dandy little trout.
includes a quick stop back in town. You see, in the 1800s, Red Wing laid claim as the world's busiest wheat market. This town needed a hotel, so builders got to work. In an establishment this old and this grand, stories certainly creep in over time.
We do have quite a few people that have had experiences.
Hotel historian Scott Hansen volunteered to host us. Well, after hours.
310 is the room that gets the most reports of paranormal activity. It's just something you feel when you're, in certain buildings.
See, some guests seem convinced they see ghosts.
The majority of it centers around Clara.
Clara Lilleblad started bussing tables here in 1914. She eventually ran the hotel until her death in 1972. Some guests say Clara never left.
We had one couple that were convinced that they saw her sitting in the chair when they woke up in the middle of the night.
The spooky story started long before Clara. Workers stopped construction of the original hotel in 1875 after discovering mysterious Indian burial grounds. Shortly after the hotel opened, a July storm swamped the steamship Sea Wing on nearby Lake Pepin. More than 100 people drowned. Investigators used the St. James basement as a temporary morgue. Upstairs, workers sometimes hear a voice.
A little girl, happy voice is like a girl running and laughing or something.
Strangely, the reports come from this hallway, where a single photo hangs on the wall.
This is actually a human hair woven by the girl that's in the photograph.
Makes you wonder if such accounts result from too much talk over too much time. Tonight,
Is there a ghost here?
Eric Moen
Let's start with this.
might help find answers.
This is a K2 meter which measures electromagnetic fields. We're talking about residual hauntings. So many people coming and going throughout the years, it creates like an emotional energy.
Eric finds his energy and his true interest in this hotel.
If I were a ghost, I'd love to hang out in an old hotel like this that's been so well maintained. So pay attention to the back.
He and his wife Amy married at the St. James just 1 week before we shot this story.
Here we go. We're getting something already.
Yeah, I hit it to yellow.
Together, they hunt in haunted buildings.
In all honesty, coming through that door, I was not liking this. So pay attention real closely to cold areas, the hair on the back of your neck standing up, that creepy feeling.
If ghosts do exist,
Is there someone here with us?
Eric and Amy hope to unravel their mystery.
He's saying that that's a ghost
These paranormal investigators use all kinds of instruments.
Spirits are thought to talk through this, and you give us a message through the box.
Some gadgets a little creepy themselves.
Can you say hi?
And remember that dark photo of the little girl?
Right there, we're getting some really good hit, and I got the heebie-jeebies. And we're right by that creepy picture, talking about ghostly things. So, I don't know, you tell me, is this place haunted?
Those questions remain unanswered. But count on this, the St. James endures as Minnesota's most iconic hotel, nestled right in the heart of Bluff Country.
This is a crown jewel of Minnesota.
It's a step back into history, although we have all modern conveniences. Gives you an experience of what it was like to stay in a 19th century hotel.
Come visit sometime, if you dare.
Still ahead, one of Minnesota's scariest faces. We get up close and go batty for bats.
Closed captioning provided by Star Bank.
Bats have to be one of the scariest looking creatures. Ron Shera heads underground to better understand why this mammal gives most people the creeps.
Welcome to Forestville Mystery Cave, my friends. Ah, don't be afraid. This is a Minnesota State Park after all. It's just us in here. Us and a little brown bat or two. They're just hanging out.
They come out when it's getting dark and fly around, and I think things at night are foreign to people. You know, humans are adapted for daylight activities, and so there's a lot of things at night that seem spooky. It's hard to see.
Ah, yes, the makings of a perfect Halloween party. Bats a-flying o'er the pumpkins. A scary thought for sure.
There's a lot of folklore relating to bats, and I think there's some fears about bats that date back centuries. And so I think because of people's misunderstanding of bats, they're perceived as dangerous.
But holy Batman! Don't bats tangle your hair or suck your blood or bring death to your door? You must admit, a bat's face kind of resembles Dracula, who was known for drinking blood.
Minnesota bats eat insects, all kinds of them. They eat a lot of mosquitoes. They can eat as many as 600 mosquitoes every hour when they're foraging. They eat other pest species as well, including cornborer moths. That's one of their favorite prey here in agricultural parts of Minnesota.
All of which means if you're not a flying moth, no worries. Bats are nice, well, mammals just like you. In fact, in China and Poland, bats are symbols of happiness and life.
They're much more closely related to primates like monkeys and apes. And they're critters that are very sophisticated, very advanced.
Bats? Sophisticated? Yes, it's called echolocation. Bats can emit a high-frequency sound that bounces back to its ears, signaling the presence of flying insects or obstacles while they are flying in total darkness. Sonar in submarines or fishing depth finders utilizes the same technology. Bats had it first. Today, bats in America have a problem, and it's not public relations. It's a disease.
White nose syndrome is a terribly lethal disease, fungal disease, that has infected many bats in caves and mines in the eastern United States. And it's fatal to most of the bats that contract the disease. Unfortunately, this past winter, we saw our first evidence in Mystery Cave here, and also at Sedan Mine in northern Minnesota. So we're right on the verge of a major outbreak, we believe, here in Minnesota.
Not cheery news for bats or Halloween. Halloween did not originate with bats in the belfry. It was ghosts and goblins who appeared in the dark between a world of life and death. Eventually, the idea of night-flying bats or the pumpkins fit right in with Halloween, giving us something more to fear, for no reason at all.
Up next, we go back in time as the tale of Old Three Legs comes to life right here in Minnesota.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Radco Truck Accessories, Minnesota Historical Society, and by Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
Today's Minnesota Bound Classic takes us back several years.
Yeah, to that fateful day when Ron Scherer discovered the dark tale of Old Three Legs.
This is the story of Old Three Legs, perhaps the most famous wolf in all of North Country. Some of this story is true, but some of the exploits of Old Three Legs are mere legends, as is the case with most wolf tales. The real story of Old Three Legs begins in the early 1900s in northwestern Minnesota. As the wild land was settled, folks began telling stories of a wolf pack that killed sheep and cattle and dodged bullets and traps. In fact, newspaper stories in that time verified that a pack of 3 wolves terrorized old women and young children and heartlessly ate family pets such as Sport, a courageous Airedale, reported the Detroit Lakes newspaper.
Between them and their home was Old Three Legs snarling at them. And from what we're told, a dog owned by the family of these children preserved their lives by going after Old Three Legs, and the wolf killed the dog, and during that fracas the children were able to get through the wolf's path and were able to go on home. From that we can only guess that Old Three Legs was an especially nasty animal. One of the people who was going to get Old Three Legs, he vowed he would do that, set up an elaborate system of traps. And from what we're told, Old Three Legs maneuvered his way through the traps, got the lamb, and as it was making its way out, its foot was caught.
He lost the left front leg, which he chewed off in this trap.
As the years went by, the exploits of Old Three Legs spread far and wide. Old Three Legs was now too smart to be trapped or shot, and one night Old Three Legs terrorized the George Clemmer farm in Itasca County, the story goes. This included a pregnant Mrs. Clemmer, who suddenly gave birth at all the excitement. Old Three Legs broke through the window, tried stealing the newborn child, but finally ran away. Or so the story goes. Finally, the real Old Three Legs, on about November 25th, 1926, made a wrong move by stumbling into a deer hunter named Fred Darkow. A marksman, Darkow took one shot, and Old Three Legs was dead.
He was shot by my father, who was on a deer hunting trip.
He saw this deer running and took a bead on it right away, but as he was taking the bead, he saw something else move.
And he just moved over his rifle and shot the wolf.
The animal was hauled into town, and Darkow was a hero. The big bad wolf was no more. And today, attitudes towards wolves and our knowledge of the animals has changed. We no longer fear the wild dogs. But the story of Old Three Legs proves one thing. It's never too late to have one more wolf tale to tell.
That story gives me the chills every time I hear it.
Speaking of, what's that noise?
Now you're just being paranoid. We're out of here.
In the meantime, don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors. I'm not joking.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. To get more Minnesota Bound, including full episodes, go to mnbound.com. And to follow our latest adventures, like us on Facebook.